Nandji too. Have a look at the state of your butt, mate. You need some attention. This morning it's time to get stuck into the third big job that needs to be done here on the hard stand. So we've taken the mast off, we're doing the rigging, we've got the tent up and we're attending to the deck. The third job is what's happening below the waterline. You can see on Nandji's butt here, she's already covered in barnacles. It's been a year since we anti-fouled. This area is very high nutrient water, I guess you could say, because growth happens extremely fast. Although the antifoul that we used last time seems to have done the test of time compared to previous antifouls, but you can still see here, just the last month of it sitting in the water, we've had to clean it weekly, and even then, just within a week, this is how big the barnacles grow here in Thailand waters. So when we first bought Nandji too, she'd been sitting on the hard stand for a couple of years. It had a bit of antifoul on the bottom, and before we went in, we just scratched back that antifoul, prime it up, and put on the Chigoku antifoul that we have on now. But we don't know what's going on underneath that antifoul. We don't know what it's hiding. We don't know the exact integrity state of the hull, whether there's osmosis. Osmosis is water that gets into the fiberglass and it blisters and it delaminates the fiberglass. I'm pretty sure we don't have it, but we don't know if we do or not because it's all covered in paint. Which is why this morning we're blasting. We're going to take back all the layers of paint and take Nandji 2 back to gel coat so we can have a proper inspection and we know what's going on. This is a totally new process for us, taking it back to gel coat by blasting, except there's a few little extra points about that. So we've got Yacht Blast, the masters here, Lewis and Nigel are the main guys, so let's speak to them and we'll find out heaps more information. How are you, mate?
Not too bad, yourself?
So this is Nigel from Yacht Blast. Nice to meet you. So today we're taking back all the paint and going back to gel coat. So we don't know what surprises we're going to find because we just anti-fouled the boat to start with. So are you able to give us the benefits of why, if we were to sand it, what are we going to find compared to blasting?
For sure. So prior to doing any work, we'll do a moisture gauging.
Yep.
Just to determine what kind of moisture levels we have within the substrate.
Yep. We
can see already that we're getting some moisture within yours, so it's going to be a little bit of osmosis. When you do find osmosis, you want to get rid of all that damaged material inside there.
Yep.
Traditionally, sanding, to get to the bottom of the blister, what you're going to have to do is remove a lot of good meat, a lot of good material to get to the bottom of that blister, just by the way the sander works.
Right.
Whereas when you're blasting, you're hitting it square on. You're hitting that damaged area directly where it is. So you're minimizing how much of the good areas you're removing the material, right? One of the misconceptions of blasting is blasting is going to damage fiberglass, which for traditional dry blasting, there is a potential.
Right.
With the way that we're doing with the wet blasting, it's a completely different, how the actual abrasive contacts the substrate, because it's mixed with the water, is more gentle than what we'd have with the dry blast. On top of that, we're able to change mediums, so we can use walnut, very soft, or we could use Garnet, which is very aggressive.
Right.
So depending on what we're blasting, whether it's GRP fiberglass, aluminium, steel, wood, we can control the pressures, we control the medium sizes to get the optimum profile we're trying to achieve.
Alright, so this is Lewis. How are you, man?
How's it going, Josh?
So how does it work? We've got our water up the front, big Jenny in the middle. How do the tanks actually supply the pressure?
So these are just pressure pots.
Right.
They're basically sandblasting pots, just inverted. The outlet is not at the bottom, it's actually on top. Right. So there's a pipe that runs in the center, and that pipe sits on top of the nozzle.
Right.
So what we can do here is we can adjust the height of this pipe on the nozzle. With the air rushing through, creates a Venturi vacuum.
Right.
So the water and abrasive is mixed inside this tank. So the air is running to the center and through the pipe. But because of that gap, we allow water and a mist of water and sand to enter. Right. When the water and abrasive comes out, there's no dust.
Yeah, I'm pretty keen on this. Let's take it off, and I really want to know the state of the hull. I reckon we should be sweet, but there's only one way to find out. So let Lewis do his thing.
All right.
Sweet.
Yeah, man. just going to do a little test patch here, and we'll just see, just to get his gauges and his pressures right, and just to see what's going on with the hull as well. We'll be able to see the layers instantly. Yeah, here he goes.
Discovered here through the blasting is the anti-fouling is adhering to this coat, which is probably the primer.
Yeah.
But that primer is not adhering properly to the gel coat. So it's a good indication that you should remove all the coating back down to the gel coat. Part of the paint that was supposed to be adhering is coming off quite easily, which means there's no mechanical key for the primer to bond to the gel coat. This is one of the dangers. If you just assume that your primer is good, if you don't know what's been done, we would always recommend to blast it back down to the gel coat. Very easy. It's just coming off.
Now just sit back in the shade on the grassy patch, let the boys do their work. Mate, the timer's on. I can already see the skeg from the rudder, so I'm pretty sure this is going to take only a couple of hours, eh? Compared to me on a wet sand, and oh, this is just a dream. Already, just sort of uncovering those little secrets that the paint hides. So you can see there's like this blistering, and do you reckon that's osmosis, or that's just...
No, well, you can see here we're lightly blasting the anti-fouling and the primer, but whatever's there is not good. And it's exposing it.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you
straight
want.
away, which is the big hole. Which is why we blasted, you know? Because that paint just hides all that. If I was to sand that, mate, I wouldn't have found it. We'll have to see what it's like when the whole lot of antifouls come off, but we can see we are finding a few little patches of pitting already, so it is suggesting there is moisture in the hull. So we can see, now the boys just having a bit of a break and gone to lunch, so you can see the profile that it's sort of coming back to. See this up here, this is like perfect profile, nice and scratched up, so the paint can bond to it. But as you come down, you can see all these little pittings and all these little holes that have flaked off as it sort of, as we've gone through blasting. So that suggests that there's water behind that, and that's why that's broken free. So once all the blasting is complete, we'll have to go over it all and fill up all of these holes with an epoxy filler and then sand it back just lightly before we prime it. If we just had a hand sanded it, all these little blotches and holes and pittings and all these weak spots in the gel coat, we just wouldn't have found them, you know. We just would have rubbed straight over the top of them, and then say give it 12 months, these could form into blisters, and then they start popping and water can penetrate even deeper. I look forward to when they actually blast the skeg and prop here to bring these back to proper just bare metal so we can treat them with prop speed. That's just from like overblast, I guess. The water off spray is already cleaning up the surface. Like even here you can see how it's just flaking away. So that primer hasn't bonded to whatever is below it. So there's definitely an adhesion issue there. So in 2 hours, they've done a bit over half of one side. So I guess expect 2, 4, 6, about 8 hours of blasting to do a 47-foot vessel. Just stop the blasting on the bow here. This is a bit of a susceptible area here, and underneath the rudder is where the most sort of pitting and damage has sort of been found. And we can see through here, just straight down the middle of the boat. We're going to start blasting it now and open it up a little bit more, but there is these holes. There is a bit of water you can see that seeped out of a couple of those holes. So this is definitely osmosis here. So we just got to blast that back. The hull, they say, is like 2 inches thick through here, but still, we'll see how deep these holes are, because we're definitely going to have to fill them, and then it's just a matter of whether we have to run a piece of glass over the top. But we'll let Lewis just blast a little bit further and see what you uncover, eh? See a little bit of extra blasting, what that does. That's just chipped that right out. There's like a little cavity in there even, eh? But It's nothing major, nothing massively deep, but I definitely think I will just run a strip of glass over it. Well, quite a solid effort by Lewis and the lads today. It's probably a good 6 hours of blasting done, and done the whole hull. So 47-foot boat in pretty much 6 hours. Overall, I'm pretty happy with what we've come up with. It would have been nice if, you know, we blasted and it all came out with the surface just looking like this, just prime, ready for painting. But we did have a bit of osmosis, and which is pretty key into the reason why we went blasting, because we didn't know the state of the hull. And here we are, we've taken it back, and all those little hidden secrets that the paint does were revealed. For example, not sure who did this, but some stage in old Nandji 2's life, she was bloody rammed into something, that's for damn sure. Look at this thing. Look at all of that. Whoever fixed it though did a really good repair job. You can see the different coloration. This is the gel coat, this front here, this is like all the fairing agent on top. You can see the layers of glass in areas where we've blasted back and the fairing compound sort of come away a little bit. You can see like the biaxial glass underneath, and you can tell there's layers because of the edge here where it's been feathered in. And even the edge is really good, it's not like it's flaking away, so there's no water in there, and like, the thing feels solid as. So well, there's a big secret that was revealed, but it turns out it's all good. There's another little patch on the back of the keel there, but once again, whoever fixed it did a really good job. So all in all, we sort of got into it early enough, so there's just all these little pitting holes, and yeah, just a little bit of filler. The lads are coming back tomorrow just to sand the waterline. Good job done. Solid effort, lads. Stoked. Yacht Blast all the way. We're up to the point now where it's sort of like the final touch-ups, been filling and fairing for quite some days now, and on the rudder here it sort of felt like there was a bit of moisture and just sort of a bit of a knocking, and Nigel's like, well, we better just drill a hole in the bottom there to see if there's any water coming out. Drilled a hole, mate. Bit of water coming out, eh? Oh, it stinks. So that rudder is waterlogged. Not an ideal situation.
Anh đi đi. Nè. Ở đi lên nè.
Wow. Yeah.
Hi, Dad.
Okay, Leila.
Thank you. Over here.
Right, it is exciting times now, because at the bottom we're starting to put paint on, which means things are getting closer to being finished. Ooh-wee. So because I still need to do a little bit of fiberglass, and because of the little discovery on the rudder earlier, the boys are going to start off by putting the prop speed onto the prop and skeg, and then we can just plastic it all up when it comes to anti-fouling the rest of the boat. So this afternoon the boys are going to do that. Previously we'd never really used prop speed, prop one, any of those sort of really expensive paints to stop growth on your drive system and any sort of metal objects under the water. Just because, you know, weekly you jump in the water and give them all a clean and give them a scrub. With Nandji 2, there's a lot more surface area of metallic objects below the water, so there's a lot more growth, there's a lot more scrubbing. And the fact that we're going to South Africa this year, and I don't know if you know about the water temperatures of South Africa, but mate, they're bloody cold, eh? Not only the fact that there's sharks, crocodiles and hippos, I just don't want to be jumping in the water to be scrubbing the bottom though. I'm glad to be spending the money and appreciate a proper application now. You saw the skeg and the prop were already blasted, and that's given up this rough sort of texture, this rough profile, which is the perfect mechanical advantage for any sort of paint to stick to. With the prop one, sort of put down a primer, which is the gold layer, then a silicone coat goes on top. Being it's pretty hot and tropical, the pot life of that primer is probably only about 3 minutes. So these boys are going to be working fast, working efficient, and they're doing it, not me, so I don't make mistakes.
Gelifying, painting, drawing.
Can you give them or not?
It's okay, actually.
Quickly the base can change colour. So this gold one here, this is the tie coat between the paints, and because we took the boat all the way back to gel coat, we had to start off with an epoxy primer. So that was the grey coat, so there's 3 layers of the epoxy primer, and this is the bond coat, the gold stuff, which ties the primer to the antifoul, because if we put the antifoul straight on the epoxy primer, they wouldn't chemically bond. So this is the tie coat in between. It's going from grey to gold to black. Beautiful. Isn't that just the sexiest feeling about painting? Oh, ladies! Woo! Love the end of the boatyard is what I love. I get excited. You can't see any little blemishes, any of those little holes that were left over that were sort of missed in the fillet or anything. It's all been filled up by the layers of primer, and like the finished coat here is, mate, that is a smooth butt, hey? Wouldn't even know that I fiberglassed all of that rudder's edge. You have no idea. Mate, I'm so stoked, man. We go in the water tomorrow and have a look at this Monet, man. The boys have gone absolutely ham. I'm so stoked with what they've been able to achieve. Have a look how beautiful this is. It's like a work of art. Sort of want to keep on the hard stand for a little bit longer. But we've reached this perfect, absolutely stunning looking bottom of the boat. Nigel is back again, so we're going to get him on camera once more and explain how we've achieved such a great looking profile and how we made the boat look so good. So mate, come on in here again. Good man, good to see you again. Dude, this looks stunning. You've done an absolutely amazing job. Are you able to take us through how we've gone from that blasting to getting that abrasive sort of start, finding so much osmosis, so much more than I was expecting, and then to making it look so beautiful, man?
No problem. So yeah, so we did a moisture check. We suspected there would be some kind of osmosis.
Yeah.
It was probably worse than we both thought.
Absolutely.
Even though the osmosis blisters weren't too deep, probably between 1 and 2 mil, it actually covered probably 25-30% of the surface area.
Right.
So there's a lot of filler that required after the blast. But yeah, so we blasted it all the way back, getting to the required profile for the manufacturer.
Yep.
Which on this particular product for the primer was 100 microns.
Right.
Which is quite heavy.
Yes.
For primers. Some primers are 30, 40, 50. Right. This one was 100 microns.
Yeah.
So if the manufacturer only requires 30 microns, smaller size abrasive, less pressure, you get the 30 microns.
Right.
Higher profile, more aggressive, bigger size, more profile.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so we blasted it all the way back. We did the filling on the osmosis areas and the blisters that was required.
Yep.
And then we went ahead with the paint application. Something that I always say is paint manufacturers don't manufacture bad paint.
Right.
When I hear customers saying, oh, that was a dodgy paint, you know, it failed.
Yeah.
I say, no, it's purely the surface preparation and the application that failed.
Absolutely.
All right. So as long as you stay within the technical data sheet, the technical specifications of that product, you know, whether it be the profiles, minimum overcoating time, maximum overcoating time, solvents that you use, etc., you'll end up with a good product.
Yeah.
You know?
The paint application we've used, we chose Chigoku. Personally, we've used it previously and we had pretty good result, but we did mix and match with the primer and the top coat. Would it be advisable to use the same paint system, the same paint brand from start to finish? Or?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Different products, different thinners, different aggressive thinners.
Right.
What I tend to find is paint suppliers, they tend to supply you paint they have available, not necessarily the paint that's right for the job.
Yeah, right on.
It's what they've got on stock.
So true.
They might say that this intermediate is compatible with this top coat or this primer. You're taking a gamble. If you go with the same manufacturer, the same brand,
Yeah.
you're not going to have any issues down the road.
For sure, for sure. And for us, so we took it back to gel coat. So we started off with an epoxy primer. We needed to use an intermediate coat. So that's the bonding
That's the
layer
tying.
between the primer and the antifoul.
Correct. That's your tying coat.
That's the tying coat. And then we've done 3 layers of the top coat of Chigoku.
Yep, 3 layers plus an extra on the waterline.
Yep. Yep. And mate,
It looks good.
I've just got to say, mate, once again, no, it's really good, mate. So thank you so much for all the effort and time you've done. This is such an amazing job. Actually, one thing that I need to mention is the prop speed, you know, because I did talk about this and wanting to apply this just because of the reasons of where we're going. The water's going to get cold. There's sharks, crocodiles and hippos in South Africa. So we kind of want to avoid getting in the water to be cleaning. And so this time we've used prop speed or prop 1 once again, and we blasted to get that application once again. Is there much variation between, say, blasting the fiberglass or blasting to this? It's just once again you're trying
It's
to
the
reach.
same equipment, but again, the equipment's so versatile.
Yeah, yeah.
So obviously, getting a profile on GRP fiberglass and getting a profile on aluminium or steel,
Yeah, yeah.
you're going to be a lot more aggressive to get the
sure.
same profile,
sure.
which we can do with the equipment.
Right.
Adjusting the pressure, using larger size mediums. But at the end of the day, all products, all primers have got a profile that's required.
Right.
So 100 microns was what we're having on here.
Yep.
And this one here, we're looking at 50 microns. So,
right.
But it's the same equipment, same technique, just higher pressures and bigger size of abrasive.
Right. And even though this is the only, like, this is the 3rd time in the use that we've used prop speed.
Yep.
First time lasted a couple of years and it was pretty good application. Second time it was terrible. And mate, I have to say that this is the prettiest looking job that has been done with prop speed. So I'm just going to go out there and say it's easily going to be sweet for a couple of years. It's a piece of art, man.
Thank you.
We like shiny things.
We like shiny things.
And you know, we just mentioned that no manufacturer manufactures bad paint. So
Yeah,
you used it
yeah.
twice before.
Yep.
One was excellent, you got 2-3 years out of it.
There you go.
Second time you got 6 months.
Yep.
Product hasn't changed.
Yep.
The only thing that's changed is the application and some preparation.
Right on.
Yeah.
So as long as you get the preparation correct,
Yep.
you follow the technical data sheet with all your overcoating times, thinners to be used,
Yeah.
you end up with a good product.
Get a good result.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, right on, guys. So if anyone is in Phuket and you're looking to, if you're hauling out and you need to deal with what's going on below your waterline, get in touch with Lewis and Nigel at Yacht Blast. There's links in the description below. There's phone numbers and stuff as well, and check out their socials. You would have seen that throughout the video. But mate, I'm so stoked. So thank you very much once again.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Good on you, man.
Thank you.
Awesome.